Coming live from Kelvin Power Tools in Glasgow. This is our last demonstration for the couple of days. Quick reminder before I start, we're doing all social distancing measures. Eddie, the tall one with the red hair, do you know he's the tallest man at Festool UK and he's the only man with red hair? So there's something you didn't know. So Eddie's going to be helping me, reminding me and being my assistant on this one, because I'm getting old and I forget the odd thing. But we're going to give you a little demonstration on the CS50 and talk about the difference between this and the TKS80. So the first thing, the clue's in the name. It's a CS50, which means maximum depth of cut is 50mm. So the previous one, TKS80, is 80mm. The other thing, it doesn't have saw stop. It's not fitted to this one, or it's the next model up, the CS70. So there's no saw stop technology on this one. It's purely a table saw. But also, it's described in our catalogues as a trimming saw. So why is it a trimming saw? Well, it has this action where you can actually pull through the material. And what that does give you, it gives you a great clean cut. And what's really good about it is it's really, really quick as well. So basically what you can do is you can grip the material here and we'll pull the saw through and we'll do some quick trimming cuts now. So Eddie. So we're just going to show you a really quick cut on this one. Glasses on. We're using our trusty painted board, which has lasted really well for 2 days. So here we go, first cut. So you can see how quick that is. Now when we're using it in that mode, there's another great feature as well. Eddie, if you can pass me a clamp. You have these slots in the table running the length of the base of the plate, one here and one here. And what we can do now is we can take the same material and we can clamp it to the table. So now we can use the pull through and your hands are completely away from the table. So we just use that then. But what I'm going to do as well, it's particularly useful when you come to do angle cuts. If I undo that, we'll angle the fence, and again, to angle the fence, lift this knob up and turn it, undo this, and you have all these presets to choose from. In this case, we'll go to 45 degrees, turn it round till it locates, not forgetting to lock it. And in this case, I'm just going to pull that forward a little bit. So now we're just going to take the corner off this board. And away we go. The way that the control operates is you tilt it down and pull, but also the stop start is on here as well, and the variable speed. So basically it's button trigger. And that will lock the trigger on, that will lock the speed on. But what you can do to take it off is simply click the trigger and it will reset, or use the stop button and use it that way. So we'll do a quick angle cut now. Start her up. So you can see my hands were nowhere near the table. Now another really good feature, if you can give me that other clamp, Eddie. Because we have two slots, when this table is removed, you have the same clamping element, the same V-groove all the way around the table. You can actually acquire a second fence, and you can stagger two fences and effectively do something similar to, or something akin to a mirror cut that you would do on a router, where you actually cut the mitre, the two pieces at the same time, and it really does help you get that perfect mitre. So you can do that as well with this particular machine and with the CS70, the next one up. So effectively, we call this a trimming saw for exactly that reason. The kind of markets it's really useful in, as you can see from the size of this board, would be flooring. Really useful, laying oak, laminate, any kind of flooring. Give you a nice clean finish. Really easy to use. A lot of flooring contractors would use this on the floor, so they'd have the legs folded up to this height here. So when you're on the floor, you may need a bit more support. So why not use your TS55 box, which is your track saw box that most of our flooring contractors use, as a support. So you can have that. If you've got a long plank, put the sustainer to the left or to the right, wherever's most convenient, and you have an extra support when you're working on the floor. And you can see it's also got rubber feet here as well for use on the floor. So I've shown you the controls, so we now have to switch it on and off. Next we have this button here, and what this does is lock the saw blade in the centre of the table, because next we're going to use the sliding table. So I'm now going to fit the sliding table here. Put that back to 90 degrees. Take this off. And now we're going to fit the sliding table. And the sliding table can fit in two positions. So we can either fit it at this end of the table and have the support right through the table, or we can fit it here and have some support in front of the table, whatever's easiest for your application. But it's just held on by these two screws. You can see one popping through here, and these locate on the table. So what we'll do now is we'll hang that on there. Just need to get that in the right place. There we go. First time, Eddie. First time. Yep. This is the third time I've done this demonstration, and yes, I've located it first time. So that's really good. At the moment as well, this is fixed. There's a little travel lock on this, so if you've got it in your van, you can just undo the travel lock, or lock it up should I say, and that allows it now to run freely. What we're going to do is we're going to fit the fence again. Now there's two ways we can fit the fence here. We can fit it on that profile, which might be a good idea because all the weight is behind it, or you can fit it on this profile, whichever suits you and whichever is easiest for you. In this case, I think we're going to work this way. And what we can do now is some nice repeat cuts. We have a piece of oak, I believe, over there ready that we can use. Little tip as well, it's all coming back to me. Many times I've used this table over the years. It's quite one of the older machines in the range. It was recently facelifted to conform to new European regulations about 3 years ago. But it's an amazing tool. But very often when I've either been on demonstrations or I've left it, you can do that and leave the fence rail just over the blade. So a few times in my career I've come back with little cuts in my fence. So just make sure you're nice and clear of the cut line. So what this does now, already, pop that out of the way, thank you. You're now going to get some rapid cuts. Because what we can do now, the blade is now fixed in the centre using this button here. We can start her up. So you can see it's a really handy way to use the table. Use that sliding table. And if you look here again, absolutely perfect cuts. Now there's also a way we can improve the cut on the down cut, and that is if we fit a splinter guard. So while we're here, we're going to get Gillian to bring the camera over and I'll show you how to fit a splinter guard, and also while we're there we'll just show you the procedure for changing the blade. Thank you, Eddie. So in this case I need to lift the blade up just a fraction just to make sure we can clear the plate off. So literally this green knob, turn that and the plate pops up. And now you reveal the controls. Thank you, Eddie. We'll just turn off the power on the saw. Safety first. Again, if it's green on Festool, it's a doing button. So let's talk about changing the blade. We need to lever that off. And now you reveal the blade. You can see here, it's a toolless blade change. So if you have this lever here, all you do is turn it to the right. Unlike a lot of tools, it's a left-hand thread. So basically, it's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It is righty-loosey in this case. I forgot that right. Yeah, right to loosen it. So basically, just turn that to the right and wind it off. And the way we can do that is because the blade, we have a blade here. I'll show you the blade. The blade has a spline centre on it. Here we go. Thank you, Eddie. We have a blade here with a spline drive. So So if we show you the blade again, remembering the guide, the blade guide, yellow for wood, blue for aluminium, red for plastic, we have this guide. So basically the spindle, to allow us to have toolless blade change, it has a spline. However, yes, you do need a Festool saw blade for this one. They're very equitably priced, I will point out. However, you needn't worry about your saw blade, your saw doctor being able to sharpen it, because it has a 20mm bore, so they can clamp on that. Any saw doctor can sharpen this blade. It looks obscure, but any saw doctor can sharpen it because it's just a 20mm bore. And also the saw blade sharpening instructions are printed on the blade as well. But very important, that spline, it allows us to have a tool-free change, so no spanners and locks and things like that. So that's why we have it. I'll pop that back to Eddie. And then next, I'm going to fit the splinter guard. This splinter guard now, when you're fitting it, will improve the cut on the lower half, on the underside of your cut. It's still not as good as the first cut, but it should improve the cut if you're likely to see the other side of the material. And the way we fit it, it's got a little profile on here, a little T type thing, and that simply slides like so. So in this case, now we wind the blade down, slide it over a little bit more, and now that's it set. Now, when we refit this, thank you, Eddie. It's easy enough, pop it back in, press it down, green button. Now when you come to set your splinter guard, you need to start the saw up to cut the splinter guard first. So basically don't have the blade, if you can look at this, Gillian, don't have the blade high, because what you will do, you will shatter the splinter guard. So in this case, all we're going to do is wind it down. Yeah, we switch the saw on. Of course, reducing your carbon footprint at Festool. There we go. Okay, so we switch the saw on. Eddie? Let's switch the right one on. Okay, it's flashing. We've not pulled the cable out, have we? No. So basically you need to have the saw running and cut the splinter guard. And now on the down cut, you'll find you will improve your cut. As I said, is it as good as the top cut? No, but it will be an improvement on what you previously achieved. So that's another nice feature, and that's also on the CS70 as well. So we'll put the camera back and I'm going to show you the rip fence next. Thank you, Eddie. So this fence is common to all the table saws, the CS50, CS70, and the TKS. Slide that on. Just a comment to make about all the table saws as well, just another comment. These scales on the front are adjustable. So a good way to set the rip fence is to push it all the way to the blade, and you can undo these screws on the scales and move them to the kerf of the blade. So really useful. You can be really quite accurate with this machine and with all those tables. So you have that adjustment. So the rip fence has three settings, or three fixings. Here we have the fine adjuster lock. So basically at this point we're at 360mm. Lock that off. And now what we have is fine adjustment here. And really fine adjustment it is. So what we can do then is we use this lock, and this will now straighten the rail on the table. And finally, and crucially I think, is this lever here will lock the end of the table. So that now locks it rigid at both ends of the fence. So it really is a terrific fence. And again, as on the previous fences, you can remove the rail, turn it round. If we're using thinner materials, thinner plywoods and MDFs and things like that. But really useful. There we go. So there's only one last thing now to show you on the CS50 set, and that's the lead-off table. As I've been mentioning all along, we're a little bit tight for space here, so we're just going to show you this. This is the lead off table at the end, and this mounts on the back, and basically will provide more support when you're doing the bigger sheets. Again, a useful accessory, particularly if you're handling bigger sheets. Thank you, Eddie. I'm going to ask my colleague now, Eddie. Do you think I've forgotten anything, Eddie? Are we okay with that?
When you angle over the blade gun, what
Good
you
tip.
do with the
Good tip.
splinter gun.
Thank you. Good prompt here from Eddie, because we made a mess of it last time. No denying. When we angle the saw, and what we'll do, we'll show you how to angle the saw here. If we can we manage to get in or not? One more time. We'll show you how to adjust the angle. And what we need to do at the moment is take that blade down away from the splinter guard. And then what we have here is your angle control here. We loosen this nut here. And now we can tilt the saw. When you're using the splinter guard on the angle, you really need to drop the blade and then recut the splinter guard, and it's probably worth investing in a new splinter guard. They are a consumable item, so we'll lock that back to 0 again. But what you can also do is you have -2 and +2 by pressing this green button. It'll allow you to move on. So if I press that, I'm just trying to do this so you can see it. This way. Press the button and then turn it on. So now we're at -2. So what you'll hear now as I return that to 0 is a click, and that now means you can't accidentally go to -2 or +47 at the other end. And of course your height adjustments, very smooth, very simple here. So I think that's as much as I've got to say about the CS50. As I said, we term it a trimming saw, and it is ideal for site work, kitchen cornices, all sorts of things like that. You can get some great cuts with this machine. So there you have it, the CS50 over the TKS. Terrific tool, great for beautiful cabinet working, well worth a look. So if there's any questions, we're happy to help.
Okay, so someone's asking what's the difference between this saw and the CS70?
CS70, the design is very similar. It's a bigger engine, it's a 2.2 kilowatt machine, 70 mil depth of cut as opposed to 50 mil on this one. And basically it's a bigger machine, it's a heavier machine. You're talking, the saw on its own is about 35 kilos, so it's a real beast. It's almost as big as the TKS machine. What's great about this is that the basic saw itself is around the 20 kilo mark. So you can handle that. It's about the same weight as the big Capex if you have the Capex saw from Festool. So it's much more handleable and manoeuvrable. And as you can see, the finish is just spectacular and the things you can do with it. But the CS70 has exactly the same functions. Instead of this bar here to pull the saw through, you just have a large control knob here and just pull that way. But it is, in design, it's very similar. And takes the same clamps, the same profiles, same fences. It's just a bigger base as well, so you can take bigger sheets. And again, with the side table on that one, you should be able to rip down an 8x4 sheet down the centre, so you can rip to about 610, 620. So, but Eddie, anything on that? No? Okay, we're all right to add that. So thank you for watching. That's been our first event anywhere, frankly, this year, live, since February. That was the last show I did down at the NEC. We've really enjoyed being here. It's our first time, so bear with us. Hopefully it'll get better next time. I'm not sure we're going to get an invite back. I hope so. We've really enjoyed it. But from myself and Eddie, we'd like to thank you very much. And don't forget, any inquiries, orders, get them to kelvinpowertools.com. Use Instagram and Facebook. That'll be open all day as well if you've got any queries, questions. And hope you've enjoyed the show. And we'll see you soon. Thanks very much.